This festival, there's something really magic and special that comes here. And there were legends here. There were people I admired since I was 13 years old, you know.
Roskilde Festival, it takes place 1 week a year. And in this 1 week, Roskilde Festival is the 4th biggest city in Denmark. It rises from the ground, it fills up with more than 130,000 people, and it's here for 8 days, and then it disappears again.
Moin, schön, dass ihr wieder dabei seid, wenn ich wild durch die Gegend reise. Diesmal bin ich in Dänemark. Es ist Roskilde Festival 2019. Aber wir sind nicht wegen den Acts hier. Hier spielt Bob Dylan, hier spielt auch Cardi B und hier spielt auch Travis Scott. Aber wir sind wegen Graffiti hier. Denn das Roskilde Festival hat eine große Graffiti-Historie. Seit über 20 Jahren treffen sich hier Writer aus der ganzen Welt. Und deswegen werden wir mit Leuten sprechen. Wir werden euch die Bilder zeigen und werden euch mitnehmen und euch zeigen, warum ihr nächstes Jahr auch zum Roskilde Festival müsst, wenn ihr Graffiti-Fans seid. Bei mir ist Twik, auch ein Teil dieser wunderbaren Sache, die auf dem Roskilde Festival stattfindet. Es gibt genug Leute, die dich bestimmt kennen, denn du bist seit 20 Jahren aktiv. Aber kannst du den Leuten, die dich nicht kennen, kurz abreißen, wer du bist?
Ja, habe vor 20 Jahren angefangen mit dem ganzen Kram, so Graffiti zu malen. BACKSPIN hat mich da inspiriert damals, anzufangen, die Bilder zu sehen. Und ja, jetzt bin ich hier auf dem Roskilde Festival nach 20 Jahren. Wollte schon immer mal hier sein und ja, jetzt bin ich ein Teil davon.
In the early 2000s, I started organizing a festival, and I brought a lot of German artists out to New Zealand actually. The first person I wrote to was Lumit, and I asked him if he would come to New Zealand. I told him I didn't have any money to pay him a fee, and he said, if you put a roof over my head and make sure that there's plenty of paint. And we did that, and then from there I met everybody else, like Dime, Can2, who was absolutely pivotal. So he introduced me to like basically everybody. I spent a lot of time in Germany actually.
I had been going to Roskilde Festival for some years as a young guy, just having a party and listening to music. Yeah. But I could see that the festival had so many walls everywhere. You know, they were just waiting to be painted. And we got the chance in 1999 to come and paint one wall. And then we started to build it slowly year after year and getting more and more artists involved. And now we come to a point where we've done it 21 years. And we now have about 100 artists from all over the world that come and paint the whole festival. Roskilde is, of course, the biggest thing in Scandinavia, maybe in Northern Europe. So we really want to display what's going on, you know, what's the best this culture has to offer. We want to have it here at Roskilde.
Erklär mir mal, was ist für dich die Faszination von Graffiti? Warum hast du damit angefangen und warum hält es dich 20 Jahre fest?
Ja, aktiv zu sein, einfach Farbe aus der Dose rauszudrücken, auf die Wand zu sprühen, verschiedene Farben zu nutzen. Das war so am Anfang so das Thema, einfach zu machen. In den letzten, ja, ich sag mal so 5 Jahren war es dann so, dass ich Bock hatte, viel zu reisen. Bin sehr oft nach Amerika geflogen. Und habe da eine große Connection aufgebaut und es macht Spaß, die Leute kennenzulernen in der ganzen Welt und ja, so eine familiäre Verbindung aufzubauen.
Well, I mean, graffiti is basically the only art movement completely founded, you know, like by young people, which is a significant point. It's a global movement that transcends a lot of the other societal barriers that divide people generally in this kind of, you know, rigid kind of societal structure that we're supposed to adhere to. I have friends from, you know, ranging from 13 years old to, you know, 60 something, almost 70 years old, you know. I have friends from all different ethnic backgrounds, from all different countries that speak different languages, that practice different religions, that come from different socio-economic backgrounds, and the one transcending you know, thing that we all have in common is this graffiti art. So that's cool.
Wie ist es denn für dich, mit so vielen verschiedenen Künstlern aus der ganzen Welt, quasi mit dem gleichen Mindset, mit der gleichen Idee, mit der gleichen Liebe für Graffiti, dann hier zusammen zu sein und schlichtweg auch wahrscheinlich abzuhängen und sich auszutauschen?
Das ist einfach total geil. Du lernst dann Leute kennen, mit denen du anfängst zu malen und du merkst dann, okay, mit dem kannst du eine Produktion starten, wie wir jetzt hier gerade gemacht haben mit dieser Roskilde Attack-Thematik. So. Du malst halt mit anderen Leuten zusammen und dann sagt der eine zu dir, ey, es macht echt Bock mit dir zu malen, weil wir uns dann auf einmal, wir haben uns nie gesehen vorher und dann auf einmal klappt das Ganze, weil wir auf einem Level sind und das macht das Ganze aus. Das ist Ogris, den habe ich vorher noch nicht gekannt, der kommt aus Polen. Der hat uns die 2 Charakter gemalt. Jetzt habe ich eine Verbindung nach Polen und ich war noch nie da und es wird Zeit. Ich habe den Hintergrund gemacht mit den Flammen und mit den brennenden Zelten und den Style in der Mitte. Den anderen Kollegen, der Mr. Grab aus Miami, den habe ich vor 3 Jahren in Miami auf der Art Basel kennengelernt. Und ja, wir haben uns einfach zusammengetan, haben uns überlegt, was machen wir. Und dann kamen wir auf die Idee, ey, wir machen hier so eine Space-Wand. Scheiß auf Mars Attack, wir machen hier das Roskilde Attack mit den abgefackelten Zelten. Ja, und das ist halt das Ergebnis. Es hat funktioniert.
We are standing in another lane of the graffiti area, and if you look to one side here, you have a piece from Bates, who I think pretty much everybody in Germany knows about Bates. And then if you look at the other side of the street, you have a piece from Renz, which is also a very, very famous writer, also in Germany. So this shows also something about the caliber of what goes on down here. You know, you have one king on one side and you have another king on the other side, you know? Yeah, we have people from all over the world. We have Australians, people from New Zealand. There's an artist from Venezuela, from Mexico, America, Canada, Germany, like everywhere.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Kannst du mir ein bisschen was über dieses Geheimnis erzählen, warum es auch vielleicht was Besonderes ist, mal beim Roskilde dabei zu sein?
Das ist einfach der Spirit. Also es ist einfach, Roskilde ist ein Name für sich, das steht für sich. Es waren halt schon viele Maler hier. Und ich habe mir immer gewünscht, so mal hier dabei zu sein.
Well, Denmark is a special place for the graffiti scene globally. I mean, I was always checking like Danish graffiti, like right from when I was really young. Like for a small country, it's always boasted some of the best graffiti artists in the world. I've been to a lot of these street art festivals and I paint a lot of portraiture, and a lot of people want me to do that all the time, and I don't feel like doing it right now, you know, and it's great to be in the midst of actual graffiti writers and give me the freedom to be myself, you know, as opposed to putting me in that little street art box. That's not what I came from though. Like I came from a very specific movement, you know, and we just had to do things a little bit harder than everybody else. We enjoyed a lot more, and sometimes like when I'm at these festivals, I meet people, I really rate their skill, but I know that they didn't lose friends, they didn't spend nights in jail, they didn't, you know, be assaulted, you know, they didn't go through the things like that we went through. It was a very hostile thing. Partially, you know, that's not their fault, you know, but it's just, you know, there's always that thing that when I come to a festival and there's a bunch of writers there, it's like, we understand, like we speak the same language, we know what we went through, you know.
Here we have Skill from Stockholm, one of the most respected stylists, I think, from Sweden. He's painting with Krima, who's one of the most famous stylists from Denmark. On the other side of them is a wall from 3 different artists from Australia that also never painted together. They had to come all the way to
It's crazy
to paint together.
This festival, there's something really magic and special that comes here. Like the caliber of artists that I've just spent the last week with is it's really crazy, man. Like it's you take a look around, you see, man. But the level of what people have done, and there were legends here. There were people I admired since I was 13 years old. You know, Sweat was painting here, Renz was painting here. You know, Bates was painting here. Like, I mean, that's the shit. You know.
I don't like to telling the artists what to paint. I want them to paint what comes natural to them, you know. So we just tell them you have to do some really good work, you know. Put all your heart and mind into it. Create the biggest masterpiece that you can. This is where you do it. You can use egos in a positive way, because if you have a gallery like this with pieces from all over the world, nobody wants to have the baddest piece, you know.
That's right. It's a challenge, right?
Challenge, you know. It really challenges the artist, and they also come and tell me, you know. It's like really. You know, today I painted something I never painted before, you know, and so it pushes them, you know, and it elevates the level of graffiti to new heights, and that's what's also positive about bringing people together like this. I mean, Roskilde is a non-profit festival that each year donates 3 to 4 million euro to really good causes for youth and for cultural projects. Roskilde have a big volunteer scene. We are more than 30,000 volunteers who create this festival. All kinds of people from all over the world come together to make this festival. And the way we do it with the writers and the graffiti here is we are also a part of making Roskilde. You know, like the graffiti is an integrated part of the whole festival area, and no one can imagine not having graffiti here, because we've done it so much for so many years that it's just natural to have graffiti here.
I think almost every graffiti legend all over the world was taking part of this project.
Yeah, we try to change the lineup every year. We try to feature different writers, and of course, if you look over the years, we had pretty much a lot of the best guys from everywhere, and we also had them maybe earlier in their careers, and then later on they went on to become really big artists or really big legends, but a lot of them passed through Roskilde one of the years. I like to think of it that we actually doing this project for the next generation, because a lot of our artists, we try to have all kinds of artists, the young artists, the middle-aged artists, and also the veteran artists. But of course, most of the people at Roskilde, you know, the average age is 24 years old. So that means we have a lot of really young people here. And I think to show them this is also to show them a good way, you know, is to show them something positive. And hopefully they will get inspired by it. And maybe one day they will also become great artists and they can, you know, be part of it and carry on the legacy. But we really try to show them what the positive elements of graffiti can be with what we do here.
I tend to take a very encouraging position with younger graffiti writers. When I was growing up, there was a few older generations of guys in my city, and they were very discouraging to us. They didn't want us to paint, you know, but maybe they were practicing some kind of tough love, you know, to prove that we really were serious, you know. But we just took a real different approach. Like me and my crew, like we want to be encouraging to the younger writers. Like we want to help them, you know, like we want this movement to endure. We want it to survive. You know, we can't do that by pushing people away, you know, like we have to bring them in, take them under our wing and like show them something, you know, like, because the small handful of people that I met when I was like 14, 15 years old that were actually halfway decent to me were the people that put that wind under my wings. You know, they made me want to keep doing this. They gave me hope that, you know, that I could be them, basically, what they were doing, you know. And the same thing, like, you know, Lumit did that, you know, like Dime did that, Cantu did that, you know, like Atom did that. Like a lot of guys like, you know, Wow 123, they did that. They believed in me when I was young, you know. And that made me, that's half the reason why I'm standing here now, you know. It shouldn't peak with any of us. It shouldn't peak with any generation. It should only get better, you know. So why hold people back?
We saw you very emotional yesterday evening during the vernissage. Can you tell us something about it?
Yeah, well, Roskilde in general can make me very emotional because it's really, Roskilde is a project from the heart. But yesterday we had the vernissage. Of course, it was the vernissage of the whole art zone area and the graffiti zone area. But inside the art zone area, we have a project this year with an artist from Copenhagen. His name is Sousa. And Sousa was a wild-style pioneer graffiti writers in Copenhagen in the 80s. He was one of the first in the first generation. He painted some of the most legendary pieces for the Copenhagen scene. Unfortunately, later in his life, he's become very ill and very sick. He has sclerosis, so he's in a wheelchair. But he's still a very active street artist. He prepares little street art pieces in his house, and he goes out and put them in the street. And he's very famous in Copenhagen for this. Every corner of the city, you find a Sousa. So we've been working with Sousa slowly to bring him here, having some Sousa pieces at Roskilde in the past years. But we really wanted to do a big one, really one that was monumental for him. So we did that this year. So this is part of the Sousa installation, or the Sousa Urban Station. The design of the station is inspired by a very famous train station in Copenhagen called Vesterport, the West Gate. And Vesterport is very famous for having these arches. And these arches, like this one, traditionally was always full of pieces. It's a very famous place to piece because you have the arch and it's just fit very well to have a graffiti piece in there.
Yeah.
So this was Sousa's inspiration when we had to do the design. He's like, I want to have a station like Vesterport. We had 4 different artists come down and paint 4 different Sousas to put inside these arches. Then we have a lot of the Sousas that Sousa did at Roskilde in the previous years. They are on display here again. We have some new stencil street art that Sousa is also into, done by Niko from New York. She's a very famous stencil artist from a Failed Collective. And then we have a very big hand-drawn Sousa from Sousa himself on top, which lights up in the night and has a big light display inside it. So this piece tells the life story of Sousa and the artist story of Sousa from his graffiti times to his stencil times to his cutout times. So all in one place, and then it's also a meeting place. Yeah, you're German, you know Sousa, it stands for zusammen. So this project is about bringing people together, and that's the art of Sousa. When I talked to him about doing this project, he told me, hey, I'm in a wheelchair. I have a really hard time moving my body, but my art is bringing people together to make this art together. That's why I'm Sousa. That's why I bring, like zusammen, I bring people together and we create masterpieces when we all come together for the cause,
I still love graffiti because I've been doing it for so long that it's kind of like taken over my world, It's hard for me to think about a world without it. It's changed the way I look at the world aesthetically. It's given me an insight. I've seen things, so I think I always love it. I hate it too.
Thank you for coming. It means a lot to us that, foreign medias actually come here and notice us.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
I've been a big Backspin fan since I stepped into graffiti. I have all the old magazines,
This is crazy.
Even though it was in German, I could not read it, but all the photos was crazy. I still have all of them. You always had a great selection, and back then, there was no internet. You had to get a media and read it, You had to get it in print, and I read it so many times. I've saw as it was my foundation was also Backspin magazine, and maybe one day in the future I will be able to read it. But until then, I will just look at the photos, okay?
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, no problem. Come back next year.
Of course we will. Das war's hier vom Roskilde Festival. Das war Lars und das war ein sehr beeindruckendes Gespräch und ich freue mich darauf, wenn auch ihr nächstes Jahr vielleicht zum Roskilde Festival kommt und es vorher noch nicht gesehen habt, dann kommt her. Wir haben eben gehört, 50. Geburtstag, es wird doppelt spannend. Seid dabei, denn hier ist noch Liebe im Gebäude. Bis bald. Ciao.
Backspin. X on the beat.
Welcome to Roskilde Festival.
Backspin.